What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Combat Corporation, your source for combat sports. I'm your host, Al the Postmaster Morrow. Today, I have a technical breakdown on how to stop telegraphing when it comes to combat sports, okay? So this will apply to both grappling-oriented sports and striking-oriented sports because everyone telegraphs at least once or twice in their lifetime when they start training. It honestly is a time thing, and the more you learn, the less telegraphing you'll have. But once you start competing at a higher level, folks, you really want to try and eliminate it because it will get you damaged. So first off, Kirk recommended this video, and he didn't know the term. He said, my friend that I spar with says every single time I throw a punch, he knows what I'm going to do. He says I'm very predictable. He knows what I'm going to throw and when I'm going to throw it. How do I stop that? Well, Kirk, that's telegraphing. What telegraphing is you're giving someone a big sign that you're going to throw something before you actually do it, all right? Now I'm going to give you a bunch of examples, but first let me give you a concept kind of to think of. Imagine when you text someone, which is a form of telegraph. If you text someone and they're angry at you, you say, hi, how are you? Receiver then tells you either I'm good, short message, they give you a long message, or they don't respond at all, okay? So what that translates to in combat sport is they have a lot of time to decipher what you're gonna do compared to you sending something out. If I say I load up too much there, I just told my opponent, hey, I'm gonna hit you with a right hand, right? So he trained a lot. So he or she is going to understand that, oh, I trained just as much as him. That means he's throwing a right hand because he's loading all his weight up on that hip. Obviously, a right's going to come. So I have three options. I can tag him a bunch. I can just get out of the way, or I can do nothing. All right. Most of the time, people are going to get out of the way, or they're going to tag you for it. All right. So let me show you a couple of examples. Starting off with, say, boxing. I see these prime examples a lot. People get mad at me for tagging them or something, and then I see this, and they just cock their arms back big time, and then they throw it, and that's not what you want to do, right? Same thing if I cock my whole and rock my whole body back like this, then throw it, or with a hook, or I call it salt and pepper shakers, right? I shake my hand, here's salt, here's pepper, basically. I see if you shake your left hand, either you're trying to bait me with that right, or you're quite literally going to throw the jab, and most of the time with beginners, that's what you're going to do. Kickboxing, I'll see people do this. They'll take a big unnecessary step before they throw that kick out, right? Or with switch kicks, they'll do this and then throw the switch. Which I get it, yes, it's called a switch kick. You want to switch your legs. But don't you think if you jump, I'm probably going to want to either step back or avoid that side of your body at all times? You're giving it away to me. You're telling me that you're going to hit that. Same thing with, say, wrestling. Let's talk about Ben Askren for a minute. Telegraphed the worst telegraph in the history of mixed martial arts and got caught for it. He quite literally, for a double leg takedown, just went like this. Went to grab. And I get it, Ben Askren is probably one of the best wrestlers to ever step into mixed martial arts. But Jorge Masvidal is pretty smart. He's going to knee you in the face, which is exactly what he did. So instead of changing his level, keeping it tight, and then stepping in for a drop step, he just decided to duck, looking at the guy's legs, and whip his arms out, not even doing this at first to defend himself of any kind. That's what telegraphing is. I'm telling my opponent, hey, here it comes. So how do I avoid it? Well, I'm going to give you 7 tips, 7 steps that we can go over, which starting out with step number 1 is stance. I always tell people step number 1 for everything is stance, whether I'm boxing, kickboxing, wrestling. You know, in wrestling, here's a big example. I see people do this all the time. They stand up straight and they're here, but most of the time when you see really good wrestlers, in college especially, is they're always down and they always have one hand able to touch the mat. That way they can always keep their ground, okay? But, you know, we'll talk about striking a little bit more. But if I'm here, my stance is good. My elbows is front, my knees are slightly bent, my legs are shoulder width apart. Everything's good from here, okay? And my elbows are in front of me, so I can simply throw 1-2s. I can throw any type of punch I want right off the bat. And I don't have to keep my arms down here. Another form of telegraphing is when people's arms are down here. Obviously, if I see one come up to hit me to the head, I'm just going to get away from it. People are fast, yes, but it's still giving time away from doing something. You know, not everyone is Roy Jones Jr. They can't all sit out like this, okay? This brings me to number 2 is learn the technique before you actually do the technique, okay? Now, what do I mean by that? Quite literally learn what you're going to do, okay? So say it's a right hand. Go up to a bag or talk to your coach and understand what a right hand is first. Make sure you've actually learned something before you tie it all together. If I walked up to someone and say, hey, have you sparred yet? No, why not? Oh, my coach said I don't really know how to throw my punches yet. I'm not going to put anyone into a ring and expect them to know what a right hand is on their first day, all right? They might know, oh, I got to do that with my right hand, but they don't know I got to turn my hips in. I got to keep this hand up at the same time. I got to be able to set it up a little bit better. Learn the technique before you try and apply it, because that will make it a lot better. Because I should learn my hands are up at all times, and I never rock back like that when I'm going to throw the right off the bat. Which brings me to step number 3, which is exactly like 2 in some ways, and that is drilling it. Go up to a bag, go to your coach, partner, or anybody, shadow box it, whatever you can do, and just practice it. Say I tell people to throw a jab without telegraphing. Okay, jab, right hand, left hook, right uppercut. And there's those uppercuts as well. You know, same thing with overhands. You know what? I'm not telegraphing anything. I'm just throwing it right off my hips, right off the shoulders, okay? So go up to a bag and actually drill it before you start doing it, especially when you start sparring. But that brings me into step number 4, okay? Understand defense when it comes to these moves, which ties into rule number 2 and 3, okay? Step 4, understanding defense, means say you're actually sparring, and everyone's going to telegraph the first time sparring. It just happens. It's not all going to sit in there. As confident as you may be, it will go away the first time you're sparring. I'm here, right? I do this. I now expose my left ear. I got hit. Okay, here we go. Let's do it again. Oh, I got hit again. I get it. That's what the defensive part is. You're now understanding that you can get hit. Okay, understanding that defense is going to help you tremendously. Okay, because if I understand if I rock this way, I just opened up my entire left side of my body. I will no longer do that. Understanding if I rock this way, now I'm open for that hook. I will no longer do that. Okay, so if I'm going to throw a punch, I'm protected. Here's why. I rotate here, my shoulder's protecting up here, or I'm rotating here, my shoulder protects me here, instead of rocking back like that to throw it, right? And that brings me to step number 5. A lot of people rock back and forth because they think, you know, they see Mike Tyson doing it and stuff, and I'll go into a couple steps from now with setting stuff up, but when we got to talk about too much power. People load up a lot and try and telegraph because they're loading up all their body weight into one direction because they think it's going to kill somebody, okay? Here's the thing. Land more shots than landing one big shot. Land a lot of small shots, okay? In amateur boxing, you might land one big shot that might end it, and the ref might give them an 8 count. I can tell you from experience with my one amateur boxing loss was one of my first bouts at heavyweight. People can take a punch too. I did that. I did this. I banged him for a while, and I got 2 standing 8 counts, but at the end of it, at the end of the 3rd round, I could barely breathe because all I did was try and kill him. And at heavyweight, they can take a lot more damage. But I would have won if it was just boom, 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 bah, 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 bah. I keep hitting. So don't worry so much about the power. Here's exactly why. If I rock back like this, right, people think I'm putting all my weight back here and then I'm going to rotate it back that way. No, no, no. Kinetic energy doesn't work that way. All my weight is centered. My kinetic energy, imagine there's like energy flowing through my entire body right now, and it's all centered. Okay, but I turned this way, I whipped it from my left all the way to my right, and you know where I just threw it to? The wall. It went right into the wall. Now I do this. That looked like a hard shot, right? Kind of. But now watch. I'm going to drive all my stuff forward, keeping my center balanced, but at the same time, whipping all my right energy forward. Ready? Hit harder, if not just as hard if you want to be that technical with it. If I do that, I'm still throwing all 225 pounds of my body weight into one target, okay? Instead of doing that, throwing 225 pounds that way, and then returning with 120 pounds this way. I never want to do that. Now, another thing why is because you're going to lose your balance, which goes back to step number 1 with stance. If I rotate all my body weight here, okay? If I'm doing it like most people will do, for 1, you're giving it away, and for 2, I'm going to take my left leg away. I fell. The reason why is because a house that only has one leg will not stand up. It just can't happen, all right? Same thing if I do this and I rotate this way. Now if I take this away, I'm still gonna fall. I'm not falling on purpose, okay? I always want center of balance. That way, even if I turn a little bit, I can still stand here. But if I turn all my weight here and then take it away, it's a lot easier to collapse, okay? Now, that also brings me to step number 6. No big and bad movements, okay? So I talked about the salt and pepper shaker things as well. You know, I'm not telling you to be completely still like this in front of someone. You can move around with my hands a little bit. You know, don't shake it like that, but I can move here, kind of disguising my face a bit. You know, kind of engage them every now and again. But one thing I'd never want people to do is big movements like this and hop in, okay? Deontay Wilder does it, but Deontay Wilder is also a freak of nature, one of the best athletes ever to compete in the sport of boxing. But I hate when people do that, or they do that stutter step thing, that, you know, they chop the ground like that. I see that you're coming at me and you're obviously moving in close to kill me. All right, you're trying to hit me with something. So you're coming this way, bad idea. All right, so limit your movements. Worry more about cutting someone off. You know, small choppy steps, you know, won't do it, and big leaping steps won't do it, but good steps, you know, I say I step drag this way, maybe I step drag here, I'm cutting him off, I'm putting him in that circle, I cut off, there's a jab, that way I don't telegraph that. And if I want to hit that right hand, instead of doing, you know, okay, I'm far away, and he's already away from me, all right? You might land it, but I wouldn't chance it. Which brings me to step number 7, setting stuff up, okay? This at least gives you some room for error, because people, when they set stuff up, obviously telegraphing, if I see people throw 2 jabs at me, I automatically assume the right's going to come, or they're going to try and load up for another same side shot, okay? In time, it just takes time to look at what you're going to be looking for against an opponent or against your partner. But when I set stuff up like, you know, and I'm actually setting those punches up with a jab, I'm changing my level, I'm setting it up right. That will eliminate the telegraphing time. Here's why. If I do bang, and I'm here and immediately throw it, I'm going to land a lot better. But if I do bang, I take my time, I turn like that, you know, bang, boom, he already knows I'm going to throw it that way. But if I do bang, I set it, that's all. Setting stuff up. Or if I want to throw a right hand after, you know, I throw it, okay? Same thing if I want to go to the body. Bang, boom. Set it up and chain it, okay? Chaining and setting it up is my 7th step, and that's my final step. And if you want me to elaborate on any of these steps, please comment below, because that's the end of the video, folks. I hope this helped you, especially you, Kirk, for commenting on this. Thank you very much. I hope this helps everybody that watches this. I'm Al the Postmaster tomorrow. I'll see you on the next episode of the Combat Corporation.